Hi, I'm Shelley Way and welcome back to my wellbeing channel, Shelley's Way, which is a wellbeing channel purely for professionals. We are people who work too much and we don't look after ourselves typically, and that's what we're going to change here on this channel. Now, one thing that has recently happened in my world is, despite the fact I'm trying to look after myself, I have gotten really sick, and that is not like me. I am normally a very well person. I am never sick, and I have been sick, but not just sick at length, and I mean at length. I have been sick for over a month, and I've had the flu, and I have not been able to stop coughing. And I'm not the kind of person who typically goes to the doctor. I'm not the kind of person who takes a tablet and soldiers on. I am the kind of person, though, who does soldier on. In fact, so much so, recently I checked and I had 195 sick days up my sleeve because I don't take time off typically. And you are probably a similar person to me. And however, despite the fact that I thought I was looking after myself, despite the fact that I thought I was managing my world fairly well, I still became unbelievably sick. So much so that I got to the point where recently I was so unwell and coughing so much, because I was coughing, that has been the basis of my illness, and so much phlegm and so much coughing. Not terribly infected, but it just was never ending. And every 5 or 6 days I was getting fever. Ended up collapsing in my kitchen onto the floor, and I physically couldn't move because my back muscles had had enough, and they were like contractions all the way up either side of my spine. And I physically couldn't move for 2 hours, and I actually thought I was going to have to call an ambulance. It was that bad, and that was where my body had just fully had enough of me soldiering on. So that leads me to today's video, and this is about listening to our bodies. Now, I actually was soldiering on, just like we do as professionals, and I would find myself walking around my work site and almost having a panic attack because I could barely breathe. That's how bad it was. And I was taking medication for asthma, but despite that, I was still having a lot of trouble breathing, and yet I was still at work because I didn't feel like they could do without me. Does this sound familiar? Probably, which is why you're watching this today. So let's talk about how it is that we listen to our bodies and hear what it is saying. So recently, that's what I have had to go back to because I was kind of forced into it. And wouldn't it be nice if you're not forced into it, and that you can actually listen to your body without having to go through what I just went through? So let's talk about that. This is actually the steps that you follow in order to listen to your body. Now, it might be very simple for you to listen to your body. And if you're that kind of person and you listen to your body, you don't have to watch the rest of this. But if you're the kind of person who soldiers on, doesn't really listen to your body and just keeps going, well, maybe you might need these tips. So this is what I do in order to listen to my body. And normally I'm better at this so that I don't get sick. So let's talk about how we actually listen to our bodies. So what I do is I imagine that I have like a pane of glass that is horizontal above my head. And I bring in my mind, I close my eyes and I imagine that glass pane going down through my head, scanning to see if there's anything there that feels wrong, that feels amiss, that doesn't belong there. If there's any tension, if there's any pain, if there's any sign that something's not right. That is what you do all the way through your body, and that pane of glass slowly comes down, scanning. If there's anything anywhere in your body that is not feeling right, and also around the perimeter of your body, in your aura, not just in your body itself. So keep scanning all the way down through your neck, down your spine, down your shoulders and so on, down through your torso, slowly through your arms. You might choose to do your arms separately. Through your torso, through your chest area, your back, your heart, down through your digestive system, all through your back and your body, down to your hips. Is there anything that is not feeling right? And so on and so forth, down through your legs. And scanning gently all the way through to see if there's anything there. Now, once you might locate a spot and just mental note, okay, and I did this afternoon, And I had a spot that was in my neck. I had a spot that was kind of like here in my body, and then another one down in my lower back when I was scanning through. Now, this is what you do. So after you've located those areas, and just make a mental note that they're there as you go back to the areas and you try to mentally describe it. What does this feel like? And try to describe it in terms of, what does it look like? What if you touched it, what would it feel like? Is it solid? Is it transparent? Is it flexible? Is it spongy? What's it like at that location? Does it just feel tense? Does it feel tight? Does it feel hot? Does it feel cold? Does it feel smooth? Does it feel round? Does it feel jagged? Just mentally try to describe that particular spot and only focus on one at a time. So I did that today in my neck area, and it was something on the back of my spine here, like a stone, like one that you would have washed up on the beach, like a round stone there. And you do this for each area. Then once you find your spot, so you know what it's looking like and feeling like physically. So number 2 is, what does it feel like emotionally? Try to describe what it feels like emotionally. It might feel hard, it might feel tense, it might feel like a blockage. It could feel like something is preventing the flow of energy. What does it feel like emotionally? For me in that location today, it was feeling like something was blocked from me saying what I think. And then I realized, and then that's the next step, is once you realize what it feels like emotionally, ask what it needs. What do you need? And for example, in that spot, what I actually need is to have a conversation with someone about work, that my expectations are here and their work is here. And I have, whilst I've semi-addressed those conversations, I haven't done it to the level that I need to. So that was what that particular one was. And for each spot in your body, again, so number 1, identify what it feels like physically with all those descriptive terms. Then number 2, identify what does it feel like emotionally. And you might even go to that part of your body mentally and closing your eyes, feeling the emotions that come out of that. And there might be hurt, there might be past trauma, it could be tense, it could be sad, it could be lonely, it could be angry, it could be any of those things. It could be about a situation that you have no control over. But then you ask yourself, what do you need? What does that part of you need? And then from there should be an answer. Now, occasionally, let's face it, there are things that there might be an issue that you just can't fix yet. It's not time. It's not something that you can solve yet. There might be outstanding issues with a fellow staff member that you're in charge of, let's say, or a colleague, and it's something that's been ongoing that you can't fix and change. So even then, when that happens, you then ask yourself, okay, what is it that you're needing in order to cope with it better? And there should be an answer that naturally comes up, and that's what you then have to actually act on. Don't just listen to it. Make sure you act on whatever it is that it says that you need, so that you are actually following through on your body, because I can tell you, your body is giving you signs. And let me tell you, if you don't follow what your body is suggesting to you and follow the pebbles and the rocks that are being thrown at you, eventually they turn out to be boulders that are being thrown at you. And that's what's happened to me recently, which is extremely rare for me, because normally I listen to these signs. So this perhaps is the reason why I had to film this for you today. Maybe I got sick so badly so that I would actually film this for you today and ask you what it is that you're feeling in your body and what are you needing. Now, I am the worst person at telling you, if you are sick or if you are not well, even if you are emotionally just not into it today, it's actually okay to have a mental health day. You can actually have time off, says the person who has just been forging through the last 4 weeks as sick as a dog. The doctor thought I had whooping cough. That is how bad I have been. And actually said, I want you to have an x-ray because this is not good. And when I had the x-ray, he said, I'll let you know if something's wrong. And he did contact me the next day, and I've got to go see him on Thursday. So thank God for antibiotics. I feel much better. So I don't know whether I had a partially collapsed lung or what was going on. It's been that bad for me, but let's hope it's not that bad for you, which is why we're having this conversation now, to listen to our bodies so it doesn't get to that. Now, the first thought is, I don't have time for that. Do you have time to be sick? Proper sick? If the answer is no, and you don't have time to be proper sick, maybe listening to your body now and what it needs might actually be what you actually need, don't you think? Maybe it is. And maybe this is the sign for you to actually look after yourself now. Pay attention to those signs. Now, there is actually something that I read and I went, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. If you are in a stressful job, and if you're a professional, there's a bloody good chance that you're in a stressful job. If you're in a stressful job, you are triggering fairly regularly, depending on the situation and the circumstances, your fight and flight response. So you're getting an adrenaline rush. Now, when you get that adrenaline rush, obviously you're producing adrenaline, which is meant to be used. You're meant to be sprinting at top speed. You're meant to be running away from the tiger. You are meant to be freezing so that you're not spotted by the predator. You are meant to be using that adrenaline straight up right then there to get it processed by your body to save yourself. And then after that, you can relax. Now, the thing is, if you are stressed a lot, that means there's a good chance you are having adrenal responses. Now, if you get home and you're still tense, you possibly have not processed, and you can whinge and you can complain and you can and tell everyone how bad your life is and what's happened in your world, but it doesn't make you feel any better. And that is because physically in your body, those chemicals have not been properly processed. And there's only one solution for that. You have to physically process those chemicals in your body to reset your system physically. So you know how you've got that hangover stress and tension from days or weeks of all this stuff going down? Well, you actually have to physically process. Now, you can do anything, but it has to be physical, and it has to be difficult physical. And it doesn't matter whether you're sitting there and squeezing every single muscle in your body. It doesn't matter if you do a high impact cardio. It doesn't matter whether you do sprint rounds on a treadmill. It doesn't matter whether you're lifting heavy weights like really hard, as long as you are maxing out your system in some way or form, because that then allows the body to use those chemicals, and then you can physiologically relax and take those deep breaths after that go, like I'm safe after running away from that predator. That is what your body is waiting for in order for you to process. Now, that is also something in your body. If you are not processing your stress and you are not doing those physical things to process the detention that is going on in your world and in your work life, then eventually it's going to build up in your system. All that cortisol and all of the chemicals that shouldn't be there, because you're meant to have used them when you have those adrenal responses. And that can't be good for your system. There's been all these studies on that, and I won't go into it, but there's lots and lots of things that talk about how stress affects the body, and then it affects your sleep, it affects your digestive system and things like that. We won't go into that here, but again, when you do your body scan and you're looking at your body and all the things and where the tension is and where the trauma is, and just generally how you're feeling on your well-being score out of 10, every day you should be scoring yourself, how's my well-being score out of 10? And your emotional well-being, that is. And if you are below a 7, there's a problem, and there is something that you have to ask yourself, what can I do about this? So now, instead of just watching this, I would urge you to pause this video or stop it now and do that scan of your body. What is there for you? What do you need to look at? Remember, we are sensing what does it feel like physically, and making descriptive terms of those areas of the body that you come up with. What does it feel like physically? What does it feel like emotionally? And where's that coming from? And then what does it need? And if it's not something that you can address right now, in order to cope with it better, what does it need in order for you to cope with it better? If it is something that's outstanding that you physically can't do anything about in your world, what does it need to cope with it better? So good luck. I hope those things actually help you on a professional level, and in time that your professional life can incorporate these things in order for you to function better and not get sick. Good luck.